from Sybil's Lab of Cartomantics, and welcome to the channel. I am by myself today from a different angle. We are going to try something new today because I wanted to do a tag put out by Carrie's Mystical Musings. The tag is #MyTarotIdentity. And this is a tag that is so much about like the images that are on decks, and so I wanted to try doing it this way so that we could get a better view of the decks that I'll be showing. But without further ado, just a little setup for the tag. If you haven't seen Carrie's video already, of course I'll have that link down below so that you can give that a watch. But the premise of the tag is thinking about the different decks that we have in our collection, and particularly the art that is on them, as representations of our identity in kind of different ways. I really like the idea of this. I flip-flop back and forth between wanting to be like a total aesthetic and get rid of all my decks, have just one, and know that one really well and practice with it constantly and that alone. But then I remember that I like different things and I get bored really easily. So of course I keep them all. And if we have them, you know, those decks came into our collection for a reason. We were drawn to them for a reason. And it's not always the case, but it's often the case that perhaps those decks were calling out to us. We were drawn to them because they speak to a little part of us, whether that be a part that is obvious to other people or a part that's just for us. They may speak to little different pieces of ourselves. So we are going to get into the tag. The first prompt is the deck that matches your outward aesthetic. Now, so I have a hard time nailing down if I even have an aesthetic. I am a little bit all over the place. I think the kind way to put it would be eclectic. But I don't really, even in my and by aesthetic, she means like whether the way you dress, the way you decorate your home, just like when you have a choice, how you present the spaces around you and yourself. And again, even with my clothing, I don't have a definite style. I tend to switch based on my mood. If you look in my closet, there's everything from like psychedelic 60s and 70s, like vintage. I even have some true 1940s vintage, 1930s, all the way to like Western wear, and then just your like normal jeans and t-shirt stuff. Like I'm all over the place. I'm a little bit of everything. My home is very similar. We have everything from antique furniture to really modern furniture to like mid-century. Our colors are really eclectic, but it vibes, you know? Our style, like our home design style is like, if it had a category, it's what I like. So all that said, the deck that I've picked for this category is the Voyager Tarot, because it is a collage deck. And at first glance, it is a collage deck that seems to be a bit all over the place. Like, it doesn't really make sense when you first look at it all together in one image. It looks a little bit random, it looks a little bit hodgepodge. However, when you read the book, not the little guidebook, but like the big book that James Wenlis put out, who is the creator of this deck, everything is here for a reason. Everything was very intentionally chosen to represent something different about each card in the tarot. And I'm sorry, I knocked the camera. And that is like my aesthetic. It looks a little bit all over the place. I could be, you know, dressed in like bell bottoms one day and hiking clothes the next day, but it's all very intentionally and carefully chosen to represent all the different facets and sides of me. Same with my house. I collect things. I don't just like decide on how I want a room to look and go out and get what I need to make my room look that way. I just collect as I live my life. Like, you know, over the course of my entire adulthood, I've collected things, furniture pieces to like little tchotchkes and stuff like that, that just really speak to me and make sense to me and feel like they represent something of me. And I kind of just don't really worry about whether or not it goes together. But ultimately what it does, like in this deck, it shows like the full picture of me. And that's what James Wanless has done with this tarot, is he has like really aimed to show the full gamut of what tarot is and can be. And yeah, so that is my choice for that prompt. The next one is the deck that fits a hidden or guilty pleasure aesthetic. Okay, so my choice for this is the Lacrimosa Tarot. And this is not a guilty pleasure aesthetic at all. This is a, like, I wish. I love a good gothic romance, like romantic gothic aesthetic. I think it's beautiful. I think it's lush. I love how careful and like cohesive everything is here. I love this kind of like Renaissance, like gilded feeling that we've got going on in these cards. It's just not me. It's, you know, I like will try to dip into this world occasionally, and I just ultimately don't feel like myself. But like if I had a hidden like aesthetic that nobody else knew about me, it would be a little goth, a little romantic, very lush, very grand, very like high fuss, if that makes sense. I'm a really unfussy person at the end of the day. If it's too hard, if it's too, if it requires too much prep work, I'm just not gonna do it. And there is something about this aesthetic that like asks for attention, and it asks for, you know, the wearer or the creator of something in this world, in this vein, to be fussy about things. And that's just not me. But anyway, this is a beautiful deck. This is like, you know, aspirational, but probably not in my lifetime. Okay, next prompt is the deck that totally matches your personality. Okay, so I thought about this for a while, and I could not pick just one. Because much like my outward appearance, my inward self is, I don't know, just a little bit all over the place. Like it just depends on the day. So I cheated a little bit and I picked 3 decks for this prompt. I picked one to represent my sun sign, one to represent my rising sign, and one to represent my moon sign. So my sun sign is Leo. And I am like true Leo through and through. And the deck that I picked, which is actually new to me, and I feel like I need to do a walkthrough of this, simply because there just aren't any out there on this deck. But this is the Whimsical Goddess Tarot by Christina Minerva. Her art studio is Shanaveld Arts. And just like the title, I mean, you can see here on this image, it is a whimsical, fun, colorful deck. So this deck has all female figures. So, and like the kings and the emperor and stuff are most often depicted as like elements of nature. So like the emperor is a tree and stuff like that. Now this deck is whimsical, it's fun, but there's some seriousness going on here too. Like there are a few cards in here that are just really impactful, but it's like busy. This deck has see, here's like the King of Pentacles with the frog. I love him. I love him. And this, like, it's warm, it's busy, but there's like depth there, and there is, like, it's not afraid to go there with you. Actually, I kind of want to pick out the Lovers card because that really highlights like exactly what drew me to this deck. So like, here's the Lovers card, which is just beautiful and meaningful, and it like plucks on your heartstrings. So yeah, this deck is warm, it's inviting, like it will go there with you, but it will go there with you in a way that like you still feel safe and comforted the whole way. And that is like just such a Leo. A Leo is loyal, a Leo is warm, inviting, you know, magnetic. They are, you know, I try not to take myself too seriously all the time, and like there are aliens in this deck. The King of Pentacles is a frog, and it's playful, but not in a like shallow way. It's like deep kind of heart play, and that speaks so much to myself as a Leo and how I feel about that part of me. You know, it's creative, it's busy, it feels like a bunch of bees buzzing around everywhere, and that is, to me, that's like Leo energy, is that like buzzy bee energy. But anyway, that is, oh, and I'll end on this World card. That is the Leo part of my personality. The rising sign, so my sun sign is Leo, my rising sign is Aries. And the deck I chose for this is the Desert Illuminations Tarot. All right, I'm back. I had to cough and drink some water. Okay, so Aries rising, the Desert Illuminations Tarot. So we're still dealing with fire. We're still dealing with like playfulness and not taking life too seriously, but like with a bite, right? So, I mean, come on, this deck, the wands are portrayed as chili peppers. This is the indie version of the deck, but there is a mass market version out now. So yeah, this is playfulness with a bite, playfulness with a little bit of sting, unafraid of being exactly who and what it is, charging into a situation. And that is that Aries rising part of me. I mean, God, look at that Queen of Daggers. Like, yes. I often like enter into situations like a bull, just like charging in, ready to go. I'm not afraid of, like, in group projects, I'm the one that's taking over and making everybody do things because the wishy-washiness is not what I'm about. So yeah, but it's still weird. Like, the pentacles are cactus and there are a bunch of aliens all in it. So, you know, we don't take ourselves too seriously, but also we've got a little bit of a naughty side, a little bit of a, like, a little bit of a bite. She stings, and that is my Aries rising self. Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got your Nine of Pentacles multi-armed alien. So that's that. Okay, final sign is my moon sign, and that is the Libra moon. And for that, I picked the Pagan Otherworlds. So we've got two fire signs with those bright fiery decks, and then we've got some air. And the reason I picked the Pagan Otherworlds for this, and we all know and love the Pagan Otherworlds, is because this is like the side of me that really craves and wants calm, it wants peace, it wants space, and it like wants to feel like centered. And this is a very calming and grounding deck. It is thoughtful. It is beautiful. And it also like refuses to commit. So it sits in this weird space where it's not quite a pip deck, not quite a fully illustrated minors deck. Like, they're not narrative in a way. There are no people in them. But it's just soft and lovely, and it, yeah, it creates space and like airiness. This feels so airy, and that Libra side of me, the Libra moon that wants to balance everything out. This speaks very clearly to that and very directly to that. So anyway, that is the Pagan Otherworlds. So our next prompt, I promise from here on out, I just have one deck for each prompt. But the next prompt is the deck that represents a fun fact or something unique about you. So I picked an oracle for this one. And this is the Secret Garden Oracle by Sarah Stacy. I believe this is out of print, but Sarah Stacy has so many great decks. She's got an Etsy shop, and I'll be sure to link it below. And this one might come back into print. You never know. We are in allergy season, so my voice is so unhappy right now. Okay, but I'll be sure to link Sarah's shop below because it's great. Okay, so fun fact about me. I've talked a little bit before on this channel and just in our work with Sybil's Lab that I am a theater teacher. I work in theater. Before I was a theater teacher, I was a stage manager, and also taught at the same time in informal education. I ran a whole children's education department at a children's theater for a while. But even before all of that and before college, theater has always been a part of my life. I started as an actor. I started doing like local community theater productions. I took acting classes on the weekends. I like graduated on to like professional theater in the region where I grew up. But the very first play I ever did was The Secret Garden. I was cast as Mary Lennox, and that was like a 1.5-month run. And then years later, when I was in high school, we did the musical version of that play, and I was again cast as Mary Lennox. So The Secret Garden just has like a really special place in my heart, and a big part of like, you know, introducing me to the world that eventually became my career. And I like this deck in particular because it, like, the background of this deck is pages directly from the book. She has a few other decks that are like this. I think one of them is Little Women, and I think another one is The Great Gatsby. Of course I had to pick The Secret Garden because, and that's literally the reason that I picked this, that I bought this deck, is because it reminded me of my childhood experience acting as Mary Lennox in The Secret Garden. But I like that the pages of the book are behind the images. I also just really like the words that she chose. It feels really like balanced and also neutral. You know, like there's a nice balance between happy cards and, you know, kind of more challenging cards, but there's also just a lot, like waiting is neutral. It's neither here nor there. You know, you've got death, growth, all that sorts of stuff, but this is just a sweet little deck. I love Fright. I love the little skunk. And I thought this really, this just touched that part of me. Hesitation. That is such a fascinating word. And we've got a little doe here. Not a doe. Baby deer. It's a baby deer. I can't remember, but a baby deer. And yeah, this is my little known fact about me, is that I had a former life as an actor, and the very first play I ever did was The Secret Garden. All right, next prompt is the deck that feels like your alter ego. Okay. Again, it's hard to pick because I have many, but I settled on the Gaian Tarot. I have the, the Schiffer version with the blue borders. They just recently came out with a new version, Schiffer did, that has green. I don't know how different it is from this one. This deck used to be in high rotation for me, And the reason I picked this deck as my alter ego is because, like, I am secretly a hippie at heart, like an earth-loving, like, you know, I'm a hippie, and this deck just feels like it checks all those boxes for me. Like, if I could live in an earth house in New Mexico with an art studio out back, I totally would. And this deck feels like that. It feels like a retired woman who's living on her own in her earth house in New Mexico would have this deck. And when I do get to finally retire and, you know, go off and live the life that with a little more freedom, you know, not tied to a job, not tied to school schedules or anything like that, I'll probably take this deck with me. This will come along for the ride. And yeah, just like the nature-based aspect of this deck, yeah, definitely big ol' earth-loving, composting hippie. And I love that about myself. It might not be completely obvious at first, but she's there. She's in there. All right, let's see. Next prompt is the deck that fits how you are as a bestie. And I pulled out the Sisterhood Tarot. Well, for one, my bestie did get this for me, so there's that. But I don't know, I like how, like, no fuss this deck is. It's gorgeous. I love it. All of the people in this card are female presenting. But yeah, it's no fuss, but it's like ride or die. It is there with you and for you when you need it. And that's exactly how I am as a friend. Like, I might not be the one that, and she's like subtle too, right? And I might not be the friend that is there up in your face saying like, work with me all the time. Like, you know, those decks that are just so exciting and fun. But I'm there when you need me to be, and I'm there, like, and I'm all in. That is the type of friend that I am. You know, I maybe won't go out with you on some, like, crazy joyride at 2 a.m., but, like, if you need me, I will be there. Yeah, she's lovely, and I like the depictions of, like, women together in this deck. It's just, this feels like a friend deck. This feels like the deck that you, that you use with your friends when you're all, like, having your glass of wine and snacks at night together. This is that deck that comes out. But she's a great reader. So anyway, that is the deck that is me as a friend. Okay. Next prompt is the deck that represents a place you'd love to live or a dream vacation. So I went with a deck that is a place that I want to live. That is the Southern Gothic Oracle, which is, like, not exciting. You know, I debated, I mean, it's a beautiful deck, but, like, I'll get to it. So I debated, I was like, I've always wanted to live in Ireland. I spent a summer abroad studying Irish theater at Trinity College, and then spent a couple weeks on the West Coast in Galway. And my friend and I, while we were there, we said, like, we want to retire in Galway. But right now, at this point in my life, what feels practical and also feels like, I don't know, really satisfying would be to live somewhere in the Appalachians, or somewhere in Appalachia. So I am from the South. I am from Texas. My father is from Mississippi. My mom is from here. But I have never felt, well, no, I lie. When I was in Galway on the West Coast, it was like a weird mystical thing where it was like, I feel like I've been here before. But the Appalachian Mountains, particularly like Western North Carolina and West Virginia, there is something about them that just feels like home. Like, it feels like a place where I belong. In this deck, you know, while it speaks some of to my southern, you know, experience of living in the South here in Texas, this is also very much rooted in that like area of Appalachia. So sort of. Stacey Williams Ng, the creator of this deck, is from Tennessee, I believe, so like just a little bit west of that, but that whole area of the United States is so influenced by Appalachian culture, and you can see that come through so much here in this deck. And this just, I mean, yeah, it's like, this is like the realistic, a place that I would love to live is in the Appalachian Mountains, preferably in a cabin, like on the side of a mountain, where I could just go walk and look at the beautiful views. So like, I'm from a prairie. We're a little flat. We don't get to see beautiful mountain views. And I would love to live somewhere where I could like look out my back window and see a mountain. But yeah, so that is the Southern Gothic Oracle for the place that I would like to live. Okay, so let's see if I can get my life together here. All right, next prompt is the deck that brings out your creative side. For that, I picked the Playful Heart Tarot. So this is kind of like a no-brainer for me. This is the deck that always comes out. You know, I have a creative practice. I do painting. I actually just talked about this a little bit in our most recent video, which is our plans for our fall practice. So go check that out. I'll link it below if I remember to. And I'm kind of like taking my creative practice in a different way coming up in the fall. But like before, this has always been my deck that I go to when life is too busy to paint, when it's too busy to like be in my sketchbook. I pull this deck out because it kind of makes me feel like I'm living in a sketchbook, like I'm reading cards from a sketchbook. I love the colors. I love that you can see Zara is the creator of this. I love that you can see Zara's hand in her creation of these cards. You know, this isn't even like my art style of the type of art that I create, but it's still like, it scratches that itch for me. And oftentimes when I work with this deck, and I brought it out simply because life is like too busy for me to have any sort of a creative practice, I'll get so inspired from this deck that like I'll find a way to fit it in, even if it's hard or like feels nearly impossible. It's like I will find a way to get those sketchbooks out and get something down on the paper, even if it's not amazing. So this is like my creative pep talk deck. I love it. It's wonderful. Yeah. And that is the Playful Heart Tarot by Zara of Kitten Chops. All right, 2 more prompts. The next one is the deck that represents the landscape in your dreams. And the deck that I picked for that is the Journey Tarot. I'm like seeing a theme here, and you'll see what I mean when I pull this out. Of just really heavily saturated, colorful decks. Which, you know, makes sense. Okay, so this as the landscape of my dreams. This deck is so surreal, but it's also like, I don't know, it catches you a little off guard because it's so colorful. You would expect it to be really playful. It is, but it's also not. Yeah, surreal is a great way to describe this. Like you kind of feel like you're in a little bit like you're in a Dali painting, and you have to take a second look at everything. And that's a little bit what my dreams feel like. It's like I think I know what I'm seeing, and then I do a double take, and it's like, that's not at all what's there. Or that there's more there. I mean, like, look at this card. So we've got this like giant woman sitting here crying at the base of or like sitting on a waterfall right here. But then there's this little tiny woman right here on the edge of the rocks. And then when you see all of those details in this deck, it makes you kind of go like, what on earth is going on here? And that is a bit like what my dreams feel like. It's like, what on earth is even happening? And the answer is often, I have no idea. This is a great deck and a fun one to work with, because, like, for that very reason, is that you do have to look very carefully. You have to take your time with it, and sometimes you're not going to know what's going on. All right. Oh, this is a good one to end on for the way my dreams feel. This is the Judgment card renamed as the Liberation. So that's my dreams. Okay, all right, y'all, we're back. Again, I reached over to grab my deck and spilled my water, but here we are. We're good to go. The final prompt is the deck that represents life currently. And for this, I picked the Wheel of Change Tarot. For one, the answer is in the title. I am going through a season of change right now and just kind of like getting my footing and figuring out like what's next? What shape is life going to take? And like really intentional change. Again, I talked about this in our last video, our fall practice video, so I won't go on too much about it. But yeah, so trying to figure out what life is going to look like right now. And there's a lot about right now where I'm like kind of digging into some practices that I've had to put down for a while because of life, the way it necessitated it, as well as like breaking off into the unknown. And there's something about this deck that I still don't feel familiar with this deck. Like I've had this deck for many years, and so in some ways it feels kind of nostalgic, but I still don't really know this deck. Like I don't understand it completely. I haven't done like a super dedicated deck study with it to really get to know everything that it's about. And so yeah, that's life right now for me. I like some of it feels familiar, but a lot of it is like trying new things and seeing what works and being comfortable with not knowing right now, which actually feels kind of good. It's like, and it's very much in a good way right now. And I'm getting to be really intentional and choose very intentionally what comes next. And that feels amazing at the moment. And that's what this deck really conjures up and brings to mind for me. So yeah, that is life right now, which is the Wheel of Change. I love this 3 of discs with all the ants. Really nice. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me on this tag. I really wanted to do it, and I'm so glad I got a chance to. Like I said, I'll be sure to put Carrie's video below if you haven't seen it already. Definitely go check it out, and if you've done a response to this tag, let me know so I can go watch it. But until next time, friends, I'll see you in the lab. Bye.